Okay, well, you know that we don't like to just rely on Statman Dave, although he is pretty reliable. We do also like to give you the views of our opposition fans. This week, we spoke to Cole Pettem of the Holte podcast, and we got his views ahead of the game.
Hey there, no nay never listeners. Cole Pettem here from the 7500 to Holte website and the Holtecast podcast. Just stopping by to give you the Aston Villa perspective ahead of Sunday's match at Turf Moor. So just to give you a little bit of insight into Villa, well, this summer's transfer window, we've been busy, but it's been more so, I guess you could say, focusing on more high quality positions. So the likes of Moussa Diaby coming in from Bayer Leverkusen, Pau Torres, a central defender from Villarreal, Nicolo Zanolio, coming in from Galatasaray, previously of Roma, more so coming in because, of course, Emi Buendia had an ACL injury a couple days prior to Newcastle, so that's more of a replacement there. And of course, the one that I hope that really works out, and I think that could become something special if he can recapture some old form, that being Yuri Tillmans on a free from Leicester, and that was basically days after the season, if I'm thinking correctly. So been very good signings. Hopefully a couple more. Would love a backup keeper. We'll have to wait and see. Would also imagine another attacker, whether it's a wide attacker or a striker joins if Cameron Archer does actually leave to go to Sheffield United. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, you guys have already nicked Aaron Ramsey from us for a 14 million pound rumored fee with a buyback clause. Same thing with Archer. He'd have one too. Really like that Villa are doing that now. I think it's a win-win. We get money now. If it works out, we can get in the back later if they actually turn out to be what Villa were hoping and expect them to be. Heading into this one in particular, I mean, it's kind of hard to look at either side's really sample size. Of course, Villa lost 5-1 on the opening day. Just felt like we could never catch up with their own feet on that day, to be honest. Then beating Everton 4-0, and let's be honest, Everton's going to struggle massively this season. You'd have to imagine, unless they pull out a couple of quick results here. 4-0 result there, beating Hibs 5-0 in the first leg. You'd think we're through at this point. It is Villa, who knows? They could absolutely screw that up. I'm saying that jokingly. I don't think they will, but I've seen Villa disappoint me in much more difficult ways you think they wouldn't. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And I'll still have a slightly bated breath until the final whistle goes middle of next week on that result. But in terms of those, they're all kind of different tiers in terms of quality of opponents, right? And of course, Burnley have only played one Premier League game, that against Man City. So how much you're really going to read into that on the opening night of the Premier League season. Of course, your game last week was called up due to scheduling issues, of course, as well with other sides. So it's kind of tricky. It's kind of the unknown of a Vincent Kompany Burnley side versus what we all would have known to expect against a Sean Dyche side. So I still know you guys are going to work very hard on the pitch and graft for it, but you have much more technical and technically skilled footballers that are much quicker. It's just it's something that, even watching Burnley last season and transitioning that from championship football to Premier League football, it's so different. I thought the same when Villa got promoted under Dean Smith, that we play some of the same football, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can ride that momentum wave and sometimes you can't. I think Burnley are going to be more than safe this season. But in terms of this game, it's going to be, honestly, I think one for the neutral to really enjoy, because these are two in what I expect Burnley to be an attacking side and a very enjoyable side to actually watch this season. Usually, of course, probably people in the past wouldn't have said that, no offense, with Dyche Ball, but I think I guess you could say there's more to be desired in the past, and I think we're finally seeing that with Burnley right now. So I really can't wait for this one. In terms of a score prediction, I mean, it's kind of tricky. I would have said kind of how we're going to handle being in the Conference League might have been tricky, but with the likes of Watkins and Diaby, et cetera, coming off in like the 50th, 60th minute, whatever it was, I really don't think we even broke a sweat against Hibs. So if anything, that probably just boosted the morale, getting some goals and assists and a little bit more kind of team cohesion. So to be honest, I think it probably did them more better than it potentially could have ever done them any worse. So with that in mind, I'm going to go 2-1 to the Villa. just my perspective. People may disagree, which is fair enough. That's just my opinion. I just feel like with the way Villa are going under Unai Emery, I feel like every game we go into, we have a chance to at least get a point or win. Usually I would say just a point if it's like the likes of Man City or Arsenal or something like that. But every game, it feels like the teams that you think we typically should be beating, we are, or it's very highly competitive and it's just not a disaster, i.e. under Steven Gerrard or something like that. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see. But thank you guys for letting me come on. It was great speaking to you, of course. Like I said, feel free to check us out at 7500 Holte on Twitter. You can find the podcast there as well. I've been Cole Pettem, and take it easy.
The No Nay Never podcast is brought to you in association with the TalkSport Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby, and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonaynever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSport. We are proud to be associated with the TalkSport Fan Network.